So now that all the draft coverage is taken care of, let's look ahead to what we want to see throughout this preseason. I've got 5 main topics that I want to talk about in terms of preseason watches, and let me know what you think down below. I'm not going to put Will Day in this video because I've got a full Will-centric video coming very soon that's going to touch on him. So yes, insert Will Day's health here, and I 100% agree with you. It's just not going to be in this video because of that aforementioned video that is coming. So here are 5 other things that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on throughout the preseason, and let me know what yours are. Let's start with Connor McDonald, the midfielder, because I've talked about this a lot. So let's kind of not put this to bed, but sort of put the full sentence on it, I suppose, the full stop on this topic, I should say. And it's simply that I love this move. He's classy, he's silky, he's got good skills. He is a centre-forward kind of player, which the Hawks, I think, can really appreciate because Connor Nash has got that defensive nous in him, so you don't really need that. John Newcomb can also be your in and under high pressure, high tackling guy if you need him to be, depending on the makeup of a particular centre bounce, of course. But then you've got, who are you competing with when it's not Connor McDonald? You've got Josh Ward, who might rotate through there. You've got Will Day, obviously, keeping an eye on his health, as we've mentioned already in the video. So you've got Croc rolling through there. Yes, Dylan Moore, Nick Watson, these guys might be able to roll through on occasion. But if Connor is going to be either the number 3 or 4 guy in our midfield rotation, then I'm all for this and loving it in a big way. Track watchers releasing videos and things like that. It all looks really good. Absolutely want to be able to see it with my own eyes, and check out Dingley as well, which will be really cool, out sort of near my old neck of the woods, so that'll be really exciting to go and watch. Can hopefully do some sort of video around Dingley as well, maybe even talk to a couple of the players. That would be really sick. But Croc, the midfielder, if we are able to get maybe a 30 to 40% centre bounce share for Connor, that would be awesome. And given the fact that last year his first quarters statistically were not his greatest, maybe it's a way to get him into the game early, circa a Jordan DeGoey role back in the day for the Pies. Let's continue that midfield theme. Josh Ward and Cam McKenzie are going to be 2 guys that a lot of people are keeping an eye out for. Now, Josh and I have had a tumultuous, very one-sided relationship here. I've met Josh. He's a ripper lad. He really is. I was very pro us drafting him in that 2021, did some Talking Hawks videos that very much endorsed him as a junior, saw that Zach Merrittness, if you will, as a junior, absolutely. Jack Dalton-like, if you will, in terms of who we just took in this draft, and you can check out that dissection video if you're interested. It's the only other video on the channel, guys. It's going to be really easy for you to find, but you can go check that out. And for those of you that have, I really appreciate it. Over 2,000 views on the first video is insane to me, so thank you very much. But I have been sort of waiting and wondering what Josh is going to be as a player. I very much have settled on the fact that I think that he is the ceiling, or he has the ceiling, of a 3rd best midfielder. So I think that Will and Jai are that sort of 1A, 1B if Will's fully fit. And then Josh slides in there. Maybe if you want to go with, if you've got 1A and 1B, maybe you've then got like a B- 2nd midfielder. But I think 3rd very much is the go there. I do like the idea of him rotating with Connor McDonald off that half-forward flank, kind of Nick Martin-esque for the Bombers, because he's such a good ball user inside 50. I don't have the champion data numbers on me, but there was a time last year in the last month of the year where outside of Jimmy Warple, who was weirdly one of the top 5 players in the comp for doing this, but his kick retention inside 50, so delivering the ball inside 50 and hitting a target, was one of the top 15 in the competition. And I think being able to have that ability, if he's not at a centre bounce, to become a little bit more attacking. Sometimes he's been the defensive winger, and I've seen him set up at defensive stoppages outside of centre bounces. And I just don't think that's particularly his go. Now, I'm not here trying to tell Sam Mitchell what to do, obviously, but if he's got that light touch, light kick outside of the centre bounce, where's that weaponry going to come from? And I think delivering it inside 50 and giving him more chances to have a ping at the goals might unlock a further arsenal for him, which I think would be a big benefit to his game. And then you've got Cam McKenzie, another top 10 draft pick, who at this point is faith alone, because on field, it's not 70% time on ground, which is a bit of a problem. He finds the footy brilliantly, but this is now a final series of 3 games in it, 2 of them on the road, 1 of them against the team that finished on top of the ladder. Regardless if you think that's fraudulent or not by the Crows, they were on top of the ladder last year and in a do-or-die semi-final at home. And everyone knows that our midfield was a weakness last year. Of course, that got exposed in the preliminary final. And he was fit and didn't play, which means his preseason here is just about career defining. Absolutely not. I am pro every... I am pro Cam McKenzie. I am pro every Hawthorn player. I love all of them that pulled the jumper on. Absolutely. I am not wishing on the downfall of anyone. But I don't think it's ridiculous to say that this guy now that's going into his fifth season on the list, this is going to be crunch time for him. And all right, it's go time now. There is a spot there. We have not figured out this midfield mix yet. So if he can have a big preseason, he absolutely has a chance to get it as a part of that 23 that plays in that round 0 game against GWS. I hope he gets there, and he is going to be a big one to watch. Let's go to the young bookends. Noah Mraz and Aiden Schubert are going to be two guys I'm going to be looking at firmly. Very unlikely, again, with good health, touch wood that the Hawks have good health, these two are not going to be playing a whole lot this year. We saw with good health down back last season, Noah Mraz just didn't get a go. And that's fair enough. He's raw, he's athletic, he's learning the way. This is not an anti-Noah or anti-Aiden clip here. The Hawks, as we know, with their tall forward depth, we didn't see Jasper Scaife last year. That's fine. And then, of course, he got delisted, which is unfortunate for Jasper, of course, and I wish him all the best for the future. But the Hawks are good in good health in these departments. But how they can approach trying to break their way in is going to be really interesting. Because, again, on paper, Barris and Battle and Sicily are going to be far ahead. But Sam Frost and Jai Sarong are no longer there. So Noah may be relied upon if injuries do happen. I love the fact that Tommy Barris played more games than he ever did in a season for the Eagles last year at the Hawks. It's a credit to him, the way he prepared his body, and, of course, a little bit of luck that goes with it as well. But you never know whether that's going to last. So seeing how Noah can approach his second preseason is going to be awesome. And then, of course, for Aiden, we saw that slip. I talked about it in the draft dissection as well, so I'm not going to touch on the points too much here. But seeing how he goes against AFL-ready players, so of course he's going to be lining up against those defenders that we talked about. These two are going to be playing a lot on each other in preseason, so that's going to be fun to watch. And fingers crossed, with, again, good health, Aiden can absolutely destroy his first preseason and prove why it was silly circa Harry Armstrong last year for the Tigers, that it was silly that he slipped this far. It didn't make sense at the time, and hopefully he can prove a lot of doubters wrong and be a long-term option for the Hawks. Ned Reeves signed a 3-year deal only a week or so ago that takes him to the end of 2029, and the reason for this is very simple, and it is the new ruck rules, the ability to jump, tap, those kinds of things. The last time that we had these rules in, Ned was Hawthorn's number 1 ruck, and at centre bounce with hit out to advantage, we took the piss. Now, where everyone is probably screaming or wanting to get into the comments is the fact that Ned's work is not necessarily going to be at centre bounce. He is going to be good, if not great, in that department. It's, can you do literally anything else around the ground? Because that is where his value is going to hold. But he competed against the Gold Coast ruckman relatively well, but he wasn't getting behind the ball, taking contested marks. He wasn't getting forward of the ball and looking overwhelmingly dangerous around the ground either. And if he's not providing that, then he is literally just insurance, and we don't want to go after an 18-year-old ruckman. There are also not too many 20, 21-year-old ruckmen to go and try and poach from another club. Ethan Reid and Ned Moyle would be the ones to look at from Gold Coast, but other clubs have tried that in the last year or two, and it hasn't exactly worked out for them. They're both still at Gold Coast, obviously. But it's going to be really interesting. This 3-year deal means that we think that he can go to another level. Now, I think he's 27 years old, so how much better is that going to be remains to be seen. But if he's only going to be a centre bounce type operator, that means that Marbior Chol's second ruck, which he basically will still be a second ruck, even though technically it'll look like third. But if Lloyd and Ned are going to be rotating off the bench, Marbior is still going to need to be around the ground and probably still our forward of centre ruckman. And if not, maybe a Weddle or a Kalshadir can take a couple of them inside the forward 50. Not enough for it to be overwhelmingly obvious or worth a heavy dissection in a video like this. But We've kept Ned for a reason. We didn't want an 18-year-old. We probably don't think we can go and get one from another club. Therefore, if he's not playing, that's weird. And the new ruck rules, considering the fact that he's going to be able to run, jump, and try to give us a distinct ruck advantage, is why we are keeping him around. So what he can do outside of the centre bounce is what I will be looking for in the preseason. Because Lloyd, around the ground, took the piss and was even getting some All-Australian buzz. Whether he deserved it or not remains a little bit to be seen. But he is a more than worthy first ruckman. So what Ned will be able to do is going to be a fascinating watch. And then last but not least, I said I wasn't going to bring health into this, but I am. But it's not Will Day, it's Mitch Lewis. And he is quickly becoming the what if, the what could have been. Because take a guy that was also taken in his draft. In fact, in the same group, the 70s of that 2017 draft, Nick Larkey for the Kangaroos. Larkey is known as one of the better or more underrated key forwards in the competition, a deadeye in front of goal. Lewis is a better aerobic athlete than Larkey is. Lewis got up the ground. He can bomb them from 50, whereas Larkey is your sharpshooter inside 40. By every measure, Larkey is the better forward. Everyone would take Larkey over Lewis on pure availability alone. But Larkey averages 2 goals a game. And Mitch Lewis, with all of his health problems, averages 1.7. It's not a massive gap between the two. And if Tom Barras can have more games in a season last year than he ever has, can we please give it to Mitch Lewis as well? Because this guy has a 60-goal season in him. He does. But it can't be something going into another season that we as fans can go, geez, we're pumped for Mitch Lewis to have a breakout, or we're pumped for Mitch Lewis to have a career best season. Because all you're doing there, again, it's faith and hope over anecdotal evidence. We have no story, no post, no nothing that makes us flip the switch. It might flip your belief, but it's not going to flip the notion from a majority standpoint that we are ready for Mitch Lewis to dominate the competition, and he can. I know this is going to sound weird, but do you know how easier it would be to move on if it was like, well, we're waiting for him to get fit, but we're not even that sure if he's good or not? No, he's really good. In that 22-23, that pair of seasons where he kicked about 72 goals in 30-odd games, he had a better goal per game average in that set of when he played than nearly anyone else in the competition. It was top 6 at the time. This guy is I just need him to be okay. And it's not anti-Nick Larkey, this. It's just, I know people are going to go, if there's one guy that can be healthy, it needs to be Will. And I agree with you, because we've had a functioning forward line, unfortunately, without Mitch. I know that. But geez, I just want him to be fully fit and ready to go, right? And I'm sick of hearing about his golf handicap. All right. Make him as bad as golf as I am and just let him play footy. Can that be the trade that we make? But please, for the love of God, let him be okay. Because you talk about Will Day being fit could win us a flag. Mitch Lewis being fully fit and ready to go gives a midfield and a half-forward crew so much more of a dynamicism that we just didn't really get. And we haven't really gotten now for nearly 2 years, that I just think it opens up the rest of that forward line in a significant way. Because how much faith do you have that Gunners is going to back up what he did last year? Because again, even if he goes 70% of what he did, that's a 49-goal season. That would be amazing. The other 23 have got to come from Mitch or Kalsha. And we've seen what Kalsha can do from a full season standpoint. And he's younger. This is go time for Mitch, and I really hope it happens, because he is and has the potential to be one of the finer key forwards in this comp. Just needs to get the body right, and I hope he can, which is probably my biggest watch outside of Will this preseason. So they're my thoughts, guys. What do you think? Comment below. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I have got a semi-historical Hawthorn video coming next, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. Going to do something that hasn't been done for 25 years. What could that be? Fingers crossed you watch and find out. Thank you very much, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you would like to keep up to date with all of my Hawthorn ramblings and rants. See you in the next video. Goodbye.